guys so much for having me. It's really nice to be out and about, see everybody's smiling faces. And yeah, tonight, what I hope to do is connect some dots. And being in 9/11, I was in Tower 1 when the plane hit it. I suffered post-traumatic stress, didn't know that I had it. Found out about a year later, and I found out after I tried to take my own life. It went that hard and that deep. And so my passion now is to really assist our first responder community in helping them to understand post-traumatic stress as well as post-traumatic growth. Because it's easy to talk about the bad places that you've been, all the stress that law enforcement and our first responders are under, but it's really hard to help folks understand that there are tactics, tools, strategies, so that you don't have to take a lifetime, and in some jurisdictions 5 years, you're seeing a lifetime worth of violence, and it does leave an impact, and there is hope. And so that's what I do with 3 other partners of mine. One is a current Rowlett police officer. And so everybody who's in law enforcement and a veteran, thank you so much for your service. So what I want to do tonight is, like I said, connect some dots. From 9/11 and the Patriot Act, everybody remembers where they were. Does everybody remember the Patriot Act?
Yes.
Yes, okay.
Not happy about it.
Yeah, well, we shouldn't be, because the government said, oh, we need this thing called the Patriot Act. I mean, who doesn't like something entitled Patriot Act, right?
That's what they do.
And
Like the Equality Act.
yeah. And so what we're going to do is we are going to fight terrorism. The terrorists that attacked us. We need to have a plan in place so that 9/11 never happens again. We all bought it hook, line, and sinker. We accepted the changes at the airport. We accepted the changes in our financial institutions, which I don't know when the last time y'all were in your bank, but recently in my bank, for whatever reason, I didn't see it before, but they have a nice little plaque that outlines the Patriot Act that says, hey, because of the Patriot Act, all of your information we can provide to the federal government. Okay. So what is the one big thing about the Patriot Act that kind of went undercover? It's the fact that we incarcerated our own citizens. Some of them were charged with nothing. As a federal agent, it was my responsibility to enforce the Patriot Act. I thought it was going to be against the people overseas, the terrorists that harmed us. I never thought that I'd be involved in looking into our own citizens. Maybe scratch my head and, like a good government agent, oh yes ma'am, yes sir, I went on and did what I needed to do. Was not really comfortable with it. Battling post-traumatic stress was kind of sidelined me from law enforcement for a little while. I did get better, went back into law enforcement at the local level. I resigned my position as an agent because I found myself sitting at my desk one day reading the same paragraph of a report that I had to hand in, just not able to comprehend what I had just written. Things got tough. Nobody talked about the elephant in the room. The only way we could go to sleep at night was to drink whatever. Now, none of us, I want to be very clear, I'm being recorded, none of us reported for duty or any protective detail, inebriated or anything. We didn't drive our government vehicles impaired. But I realized that I could not do my job at 100%. And an agent that can't do that, well, it might mean that somebody might not go home that night. And I couldn't have that. So I resigned my position as an agent, something that I worked really, really hard for. I mean, it was blood, sweat, and tears. If my mom was here, she could tell you. And I just floundered, didn't know exactly what I was gonna do. I knew I couldn't stay in New York, so I moved home with my husband, who was living in Maryland. We were living 4 hours apart, and thought that everything was gonna get better, but it got worse. And finally, when I was able to get help, I got back into law enforcement. It gave me a clear structure, which anybody that deals with massive amounts of stress on any given day, when you have something that provides a clear structure, you can get through it. But I knew there was a higher calling. I had survived my suicide attempt for a reason, and it wasn't to stay in law enforcement. Well, fast forward a bunch of years, 8 years, we've been in Texas. Love it here. We live in Rockwall County.
Welcome home.
Thank you. Thank you very much. It does feel like home, or I should say it felt like home until last year. Spring break.
Yes.
Fredericksburg, Texas. That's where we were on spring break. And this thing called COVID started. We're all jam-packed into restaurants. We're like, what's this COVID? Started listening to videos, and it sounded like it was serious. I was like, well, maybe, we need to keep doing research. My husband's in healthcare, and we're like, all right, well, gosh, do we need to order toilet paper on Amazon, right? Like everybody else, we're away from home. We need supplies. What's gonna happen when we get back? Is there gonna be anything on the store shelves? So like any good, person paying attention, we put our order in for toilet paper and food and meat, all the staples. And as the weeks went by and our son stayed home from school, and we just kind of were left scratching our heads. Well, what do we do now? And the government started talking about, eventually these medications that could work to treat the virus. And then all of a sudden, and they were out for 40 plus years, FDA approved the whole thing. And then all of a sudden we hear, oh no, you can't use those medications. You can't get them. It's like, what do you mean you can't treat the medications that work?
Yeah.
I don't understand that. So that was the first time that I really, and my husband really, we took a pause and be like, something's not right here.
Mm-hmm.
How can we have a proven source, a cure
Cheap.
for what is ailing us for COVID, and the doctors are not allowed to prescribe it? And now the pharmacists won't fill prescriptions? Something really stinks. But I watched as people went along with it. Now, I am no stranger to COVID. It went through my family. My youngest nephew had it. My neighbors 2 houses down, husband and wife, God bless them, may they rest in peace. They died within 2 days of each other. When they got COVID, and she contracted it from receiving medical care for cancer, so in the doctor's office, that's where she got it. She gave it to her husband. The doctor said, oh, go home. If it gets really bad, give us a call.
Yeah.
As we watched them being taken by ambulance. That's not how you treat sickness. You don't tell people to go home and call or go to the hospital when you can't breathe.
Yeah.
And other things. We watched the country of Peru cure almost every single COVID patient that presented with another drug that coincidentally and strangely is kind of used for, it's a dewormer for animals, but hey, whatever works, right? They discovered it, it worked, they saved a lot of people. Nope, can't use it here. What are you talking about? Yeah, Tractor Supply. I don't know if they have any left, but. So then we had all these masks, and we watched as people just went along with it. Just like the Patriot Act. Well, it's our government. They got to know what they're talking about. This is what's good for us. We have to support it. And then we have something called the jab, the shot. I'm not here to say yes, get it, no, get it. Everybody here is free to make their own decision. That is what our country is founded on, freedom, right? We have these things being rolled out really fast, and we have a CDC, FDA process by which medication, things called vaccines, are supposed to go through before they're allowed to be put into our bodies if we agree to do that. And here we have a number of them that, if you think about a stool, you know, the 3 legs of a stool, or 4, depending on what kind of stool, it's gone through 2. Okay, we are the 3rd. Okay, now down to 16-year-old kids. I heard about a 7-year-old that begged his parents to allow him to get a vaccine. Because why? Why?
Media.
Right, fear. Our media outlets are being used as a tool against our freedom of choice.
Right.
Okay? Our government is being used as a tool to suppress our freedom. A government that I swore an oath, and here we are. I never in my wildest dreams, I know everybody sitting in here, we never expected it to go downhill this fast. And we sure didn't expect it to be in our own party. Because let me tell you something, there is a big difference between somebody who calls themselves a Republican and somebody who calls themselves a conservative.
Yeah.
Okay? Yes. And we have got a fracture in our own party.
Yes, we do.
And it's going to take us to expose those who call themselves Republicans. We need to, like, heat-seeking missiles, okay?
Yeah.
Sorry, I have some notes. Everybody know who Dan Bongino is?
Yeah.
All right, I served with Dan in the Secret Service in New York field office. Awesome guy, love him. He has been using a phrase, if you don't know who Dan is, he has a wonderful podcast and show. Everybody subscribe to it or follow it. It doesn't like to use the word subscribe. Yes, he is taking over Rush Limbaugh's spot May 20th, 24th at noon. So yeah, it's gonna be good. So he says no one is going to save us. That has been the theme since Monday. And he's absolutely right. We have to do it. And it's going to take a lot of work. And it's going to take a lot of coordination. It's going to take us as conservatives not relying on what has been, on the status quo. Oh, that person's a Republican. They have my best interests at heart. I live in what was termed the most conservative county in the state of Texas. I say was, because people will still tell you that Rockwall County is the most conservative county in the state of Texas. Let me tell you something, it is not. We have more enemies in our midst than we could have ever dreamed of. And it's really scary. So what do we have to do?
Join the swamp.
Well, yes. Absolutely. We need to get strategic. And I like to call it pick and pounce. All right? We need to get great at singling people and issues out and sticking to them, pouncing on it. Don't let them go. Now, what does that mean? It means we can't focus on everything. Whatever is something that is really important to you, whether it's continuing to expose COVID and this experiment that they're offering in terms of a shot that goes in your body, whether that's your thing that you want to work on, pick it, pounce, do the research. There's plenty of research out there that explains exactly what COVID is. COVID is real. The facts around it, not. Absolutely not. I mean, do we really need a vaccine for something that most people have a 0.05% chance of dying from? Yeah, no. So if COVID is your thing, like it's my husband's thing, well, he has a couple of things, but that's one for because he's in healthcare that he's really passionate about, exposing the truth. Our local elections, very, very, very important, all the way down to the school board. And I'll tell you how important it is, this school board election, okay? How many people have grandkids in the, okay, enough kids in the schools, okay? Everybody gets affected by who's on the school board in their locale. Everybody.
Taxes and nothing else.
Yes. Okay. We want people who are going to value the community's right to choose, our freedoms. I'll use Rockwall County as an example. There is something called the Open Meetings Act. Okay? Most school boards, they have a meeting, they have an agenda that's posted, everybody knows what's going on, they allow for public comment. Those public comments, everything that we talk about, it's an open meeting. So you can contact your school board and say, hey, I'd like to make an open meetings request. Could you please send me whatever documents you would like? They have a certain amount of days to comply. The Open Meetings Act is adjudicated at the local level, so our local district courts. Well, we have had some pretty contentious school board meetings. We have a school board that likes to decide the agenda behind closed doors, decide what they're going to do, how they're going to vote, before they even have the meeting. So all of our public comments makes no difference. They have their minds made up walking into that meeting what they're going to do. Now, part of this Open Meetings Act allows you access to any emails or texts that may be between school board members prior to the meeting. That's a no-no. They're not supposed to do that. Our local school board has now filed papers with Ken Paxton's office preventing certain communications between the school board members, and they don't want to supply it. Okay? So when we think about, I have a son who's in middle school, he'll be going into high school, your grandkids. When we think do you really know what they're learning in school? Do you really know the curriculum?
They're not learning.
Well, yes, they're not learning, number one.
No, we know we don't like it.
But number two, nobody knows what they're learning. These school boards are doing whatever they want to do. And so if your grandkids and your kids are your thing and you love them, get to the school board meetings. Vote in this upcoming election. Do your research. Who is a true conservative candidate, and get rid of these liberals that are hiding, calling themselves conservative Republicans on the school board, because it is destroying our school system in the state. Okay, it is out in the open. It is no longer a secret. The leftist totalitarian government that occupies Washington, D.C.,
Yes.
they have already come out and said Texas is next on the list. Okay? We're gonna see, if we do not do something, we are gonna see this state go purple, and then it is gonna go blue. It is truly up to us, and it is not easy. It is hard work. We're not used to that. We're used to kind of just doing our own thing because that's what freedom-loving people do. We don't infringe on other people. We have got to employ the same tactics that they use on us against them. I know it's like pinging ew, it's yucky.
Yeah.
It is so yucky. But it's the only way we have a fighting chance of preventing us from going purple and eventually blue. So sometimes you just gotta get in the mud, and you gotta be willing to get dirty, and you gotta be willing to call people out for who they are. And if they're not representative of a conservative republic that they say they are, they gotta be primary, they gotta be challenged, and they got to be ousted. It is a must. Another thing, Major League Baseball has been in the news. Coca-Cola, Delta, they're dumb. Stick to business, right? Right? So what's been happening over the past bunch of days? Coca-Cola has been hitting the pocketbook. So today, Coca-Cola announces, well, maybe we'll just stick to like what we do, and maybe we shouldn't be in politics. Boycotts, right? Well, forget Coke; they're out.
Yeah.
And if you like Major League Baseball, I'm sorry, that has to be out too.
Yeah.
We have got to send the message to professional sports. Chase your ball around the field, swing your bat. That's what you're paid to do.
Right.
Everything else, zip it, because we're not interested in anything. We're just not. Okay? If you want to be a politician, run for office. Otherwise, throw the football, swing the ball.
Right.
Okay? So we have got to show these companies, you want to get involved in politics? You're not for free and fair elections? Well, we're not going to give you our money. We're not going to buy your products. Walmart today, no politics. They're staying out of it.
If you fly Delta, refuse to show your ID.
Yeah, right.
Right, exactly.
Southwest state of it.
Right. It's so boycott. I didn't think I was never ever gonna set foot in Ace Hardware again. Ace Hardware in Rockwall, big sign. You must wear a mask to enter the store. My husband got kicked out of Sprouts.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah, let me just tell you about that real quick. A girl that I take to Sprouts, and she has like 50 seizures a day, she's 40 years old. Take her to Sprouts, and the manager at Sprouts goes, "You can't come in without a mask." And she goes, "I have a piece of paper, I will have a seizure." And he says, "I will arrest you." He called cops on her.
Wow.
And she has to get in a scooter to go in a store, and she had a piece of paper, and they called the cops.
So clearly in the law we have the ADA exemptions, but even with a piece of paper, it's the holier than thou, call it whatever you want, buying into this leftist tyrannical dictatorship that's everything that's, an executive order now. It's not actually like our government, like what is going on here? Right?
Yeah.
So people are on a power trip. And they're going to use what they can to push back on us. Well, guess what? Our turn.
Yeah.
We need to start pushing back. And if that means getting a group of people together to go into your local community center who may still require masks, say, my taxes pay for this building. All of these programs you run, I'm not wearing a mask. No way. We continue day to day to see this country. It's just like after 9/11.
Yes.
They just get in line and follow along. I don't care if you get the vaccine. That is totally cool for you. For me, I choose not to. My family, they choose not to.
Me too.
Okay? But it's okay. I don't need to see 18 posts a day on Facebook. I got my second jab. I'm like, good for you. Nobody really cares. Okay? I hope that when next fall comes around, nothing happens to you. And by the way, now, today, in 12 months, you need shot number 3.
The
The dots are not being connected. Yes.
The CDC today said that the new variant that's out
Which
affects, whichever one they're talking about, it affects people that have been vaccinated more than it does people that have not been vaccinated.
Oh, is that the South African one that I heard about today? Because they come from all over the world.
Yeah.
They just
Yeah.
poof, like pollen. Like a bee carries pollen, right? Because we all know it came from a bat in a market in China, right? Okay.
How come we haven't done anything about China? That's
Well,
another thing. They killed millions of people around the world. And we haven't done a thing about it.
You got a president on the tape.
right.
Exactly. I was going to get to that next.
That's why it takes us starting at the local level.
Right.
It does.
Because as we chip away at this power hold, okay? I swear, I wake up every morning going, is Rockwell the county that I moved from in Maryland? What is going on here? Something is very wrong. It takes us changing the tide of the school board to get people on there who haven't been there, 12, 15 years, who really don't care about our kids, to the mayors. I mean, our city council, same thing. Chip away, chip away. If it's not this year, fine, we'll get you in the next election. If it's not the next one, fine, we'll get you in the next one. But by 2022, the local elections need to speak. When it's time to put our state reps in office, I hope you guys out here have people lined up to challenge who's ever sitting. And that person sitting, I don't, it's hard if you know that person who's been in that office, who you truly believe is doing right by you. Maybe they are, maybe they aren't. But the only way you're gonna know is to put challengers in front of them. They're gonna have to work for your vote. No more sitting back and them relying on you to just check that box. Nope, it can't happen anymore. Yes, sir.
I got a question.
I'll try and answer it.
Okay, well, people are stupid in the United States now for some reason. For example, Biden got elected, supposedly. I mean, that was a cheating election, but if anybody knew what he had done, they would not have, you'd think they would not vote for him. He and Obama sent hundreds of thousands of dollars over Iraq, right? And then they gave it to terrorists to kill our troops over there. Now, how could anybody vote for somebody like that? They're stupidity.
Well,
They're Democrats.
there's a lot of that going around. A whole heck of a lot of that going around. And it's 75 million people were ready for another 4 years of freedom. More than. We know what happened. The evidence is there. We now know that if anything coming out of the feds as it pertains to elections, if that is allowed to pass, we're going to have an even bigger mountain to climb.
Yeah.
But we can't stop, because those folks in Washington, despite them sitting up on their holier-than-thou pedestals, and it's every single one of them, pretty much.
You want to keep the job?
I thought Dan Crenshaw was one of the good guys,
No.
okay?
No way.
No way.
Not anymore.
He made it clear where he stands. Now he's selling t-shirts and hats as part of his re-election campaign, whatever. These are the kinds of people that we let sneak in, and then when it really mattered, they let us down. Because Republicans will vote with Democrats.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Democrats will never
right.
vote with Republicans.
Exactly.
That's the problem.
Yep.
Yeah.
So if they see at the local levels this wave of conservatism, this wave, this pushback, well, what do you mean they're not wearing masks? Well, what do you mean they're not getting vaxxed? Well, what do you mean they're not going to get the vaccine card? Well, what do you mean? You know, it creates a little panic, right? That's what we need to do. We need to shake things up. We need to take this country back. And Texas, our state, is the most important state in this fight. You know, if you're in Georgia, this will say Georgia is the most important state in this fight. No, for real, Texas is the most important state in this fight. And if you have friends that live in other districts, talk to them. Help them understand that the Republican that occupies their seats in their district, they need to be challenged.
Absolutely.
We have to put, I don't even know what to call our party anymore.
Yeah.
Because I want to say we have to put it back together, but it's not even taking the puzzle pieces and putting it back together, because there's occupiers in there that are not really Republican.
Exactly.
They know they're not Democrat, they know they're not conservative, so they just have a big R, and they like the color red, I guess. I don't know. But it's scary, it's real, and the less we follow like lemmings going off a cliff, and the more we can share, I implore you, if you're gonna share stuff like with actual proof and evidence, and the Wall Street Journal and the New York Times these past couple of days has been a plethora of like, yay for us. They have put out, I'm like, what is Sam, what are you talking about? They have put out articles that actually support our arguments of why the Biden administration is now the most corrupt administration on the planet.
Yeah.
What their ultimate plan is, which is to get every American relying on the government
Right.
for everything.
Yep.
Okay, we already talked about guns. I don't need to go into my little, I'm a former Fed, local law enforcement. I also have an online license to carry. I do the in-person too. I am, people ask me all the time, well, what about your business? I said, you know what? We are at a point in this country, we need to protect our state. So if we need to go 2A, it still doesn't mean you can't get your license, because if you travel, you definitely want your license. It's the only way you can travel out of the state, even if we go 2A. We gotta do the right thing. We gotta stick to our principles. There's no more waffling. We don't have time for waffling. We don't have time for indecision. We only have time for action. We have to get going. We have to be out there. We have to be vocal. We don't have to be nasty. Leave the nastiness for them. We choose to be educated and like, no, actually, here are the facts. If you'd like to have a conversation, I'd be willing to. Otherwise, it's not even worth it, because there's no way you're gonna convince that kind of person.
Yeah.
But we have got to draw a line in the sand. We've got to put the government, our local officials, everybody on notice that what's been happening since 9/11, we're done. Our eyes are open. Once you see it, you can't go back. So I'm imploring you, everybody in here, please, these meetings are awesome. I thank you for having me. I really appreciate your time tonight. Get involved. Pick whatever jazzes you and go after it.
I'd like to say one
question.
thing.
Pick and pounds.
Yes.
Pick
We
and
are
pounce.
having people around the country that want revolution. They
Mhm.
want to get rid of the Democrats. And
Yep.
that's what we're seeing right now. What you're talking about, that's what they're trying to do. Get a great big bunch of people together,
Mhm.
which we got about 72 million or so, and go after everybody that
Yes.
are not doing the right thing, the evil ones.
Yes, we need to pounce on them. We need to expose them for what they really are. And like I said, we've got a lot of them hiding in our party's
Yes.
midst. And we need to send some very clear signals. There's not time for niceties with language anymore. It's like, no, you. I'm sorry, I'm gonna pick on Dan Crenshaw again. Every guy in my family served in the military, okay? When it was my turn, my mom said no, so I did the next best thing and went quasi into the feds. When he got elected, I was like right on. And when that vote came down and he voted to impeach, I was like, oh, no. No. This is not a game.
No.
Okay? I don't know what his strategy is. I don't know what he's about anymore. I question everything.
Money.
And every time I see him come across my Facebook feed, because I'm still on Facebook, because I have a broader audience, that's how I communicate, I watch, in addition to my posts, which is, watching you.
Yep.
That's my meme, watching you, man. I read, and more people are like, oh no, bud, you open my eyes to what you are. And the tide is starting to turn. If it can turn on him and on his pages, we can turn it.
We feel the same way about Greg Abbott here.
Oh, yeah.
But to your point,
Open-ended
we have
governor.
not matched their intensity, right? I don't remember ever a time when a conservative won a seat, whether it's a state rep or whatever, that the next election he wasn't challenged to no end.
Right.
But a rhino can win, and we may not challenge him because, hey, at least we got a Republican in office.
Right.
Look, this is it, and what I mean by coming down to the local stuff matters. When there's somebody speaking at a GOP event, okay, and they say, and the organizers of the GOP event say, well, we're gonna come up with the questions and we're gonna ask the candidate. I'm like, oh no, you are not. We're not playing those games anymore. So even the local GOP club people need to be put on notice. If you don't get with the program, you're gonna be out.
Yep.
Go cry in the corner. We don't have time. Seriously, we do not have time.
Good points.
Pick and pounce.
Just a comment,
Yes, sir.
and Marty's right. It's fast becoming the talk in conservative groups, that if you support Abbott, we're taking you out.
Okay.
It's
He's showing his true colors.
yeah. If you support Abbott, we're taking you out. The man has turned her back on conservative principles.
He has so much.
Yes, is very compromised with a lot of the decisions. Hence, we now have Texans pitted against Texans. We now have small business with the being given the decision of whether or not for masks in their business. No, we're either about freedom or we're not. So that's why I call him open-ended Abbott. Because he's like really strong in the first couple of paragraphs, and then there it is.
You know, he
There
did
it
do one thing positive recently. He wrote that letter to the
Major League Baseball. That's the only
Yeah.
thing
Right.
that he did. That was
I
great.
have a comment on that.
You couldn't get it.
What happened?
With the comment, you could put them all.
What happened? Did you see what happened when Abbott went to CPAC?
That's the
And he ran for president, they had this straw poll, and he got 0. Then he came back home and turned to the right a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because he plans on running for president. Jerry says,
And
Yes,
the
Steve.
Democrats are not even hiding anymore. It is now the
Right.
Democratic Socialist,
Yeah.
which is an oxymoron statement.
Right. Yeah, no, they're not
Oh,
hiding.
sure.
These leftists are
They're
not hiding.
anymore.
It's
They're
the
coming.
language and the confusion from the White House that
Yeah.
they're trying to hide the true intentions of, like, you know, our guns.
Yeah.
The true intention of it is they want everybody on a list,
Absolutely.
because then they can come to our house, knock on our door, oh, we need your guns. Even private sales, they want to dictate how that's going to go, because if a private sale is not on the list, knock, 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 your gun, I don't have it anymore. Right? Everything comes back to a 100% reliance on the government for everything. Anybody notice the change in credit card machines at their local gas stations lately? I mean, Tom Thumb, I don't know what crystal ball they have, but they've been doing this for a while. Stick your card in, and it's locked in there.
Yeah. What's the deal?
I don't know, maybe one day we might need a vaccine passport or something tied to everything we do, right? If the feds have their way, that's what it's gonna be. I go to get gas on my credit card, something is in the code because the banks have issued new credit cards to everybody. Just like that strip on the back of your driver's license, right? What information? Oh, sorry, you don't get your credit card back because you're not vaccinated. It's these small, subversive actions that we see as normal, or, oh, new technology, oh, or more convenient. Oh, what is the underlying message? What do they want to do? Why do we need new credit card machines at the gas station when the old ones are working fine?
Control.
Why do we need these programs inserted into the back end of our programs on our computers, which we don't even know when they're inserted in there, because it's not like it pops up on the screen and says, hey, this company just installed blah, 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 right? If you don't have a VPN on your machine, on your computers, get one. But why? He said it. Control. Control. If they can control us, can do whatever they want.
Sam, I spoke here a couple months ago during lunch, and it's so funny you said this, and you said it a lot more eloquent than I could, is that we need to become the they. We're always wondering, boy, they're doing this, and look what they do, and so forth and so on, if y'all remember that, and we need to become the they. And the blessing that I'm seeing in Senator Hall's office now is that there are people that are saying they aren't going to do anything for us, and I'm going to fight the they on the other side. And the most effective way I've seen so far are the people who are walking into my office in Canton or calling my office and saying, look, bill number 1927 is going to come up today, and I want to know how Bob Hall's going to vote on it.
Yeah.
This one lady walked in the other day, and she must have been 95, and if I would have said, he's going to vote against it, I'm pretty sure she would have beat me up right here. But you talk about holding someone accountable.
Yeah.
Because there, as, you may agree with this, there are two kind of people in office. There are servants who are looking out for people like us, the constituents, and there are politicians, obviously. And the politicians are playing politics. They may vote for something because they vote for something because they had to.
Right.
There are
Or they
people
get paid for it.
Huh?
Or they get paid.
There are people that don't waver, like Bob Hall, Brian Slayton, who's doing a great job. So I can tell you from working in those offices, if you'll walk in the office, or you'll call, or you'll email, and you don't stop, you can be very gracious about it, and you don't have to be violent. But if you hold them accountable, that helps.
Oh yeah.
So call your local rep, call your senator, call me, call your city council, call your school board, and say, I want to know how you're gonna vote. Well, why did you vote that way? I thought when you campaigned, you said you were for this or against this, and I promise you that was.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Get out there, hit the phones, hit the emails.
Get it going.
Pat Fallon's office is very responsive. I've emailed him a bunch of times
Very
and
much
stuff.
so, yeah.
And yeah, so that's I'm Sam, and that's my story, and I'm sticking to it.
Hold the book in front of the camera.
In front of the camera.
Right there?
Back up, Jerry.
I don't want to get on there. Okay.
Hold the camera up to
No. Hey, this book tells what she went through. She didn't touch on all of it. I got chills because it's worse than what she was saying. And she suffered for a while. And that's why she does a lot of counseling to our service guys, our veterans, because of what happened to her. And these are on sale back here if anyone would like one.
Where do we get? Yes, they're right in the back. So thank you.
All right.
Thank you.